Alright mate, how you doing? Spencer here, and a bit of a different video for you today. Before last season, I did a video on my other channel called the Premier League Predictions, where I predicted who was going to win the title and whatnot, and it went down quite well. So I thought I'd do another one for this season, which is about to start this weekend. But before we start, don't forget, if you want any Ultimate Team coins, make sure you check out fifacoinstock.com. There's a link in the description. Okay then, to start things off, I'm going to work my way up the table from 20th to first place. And in 20th position, getting relegated, I think will be Burnley, the newly promoted team. I don't think they've got enough to stay up. They haven't bought enough, they haven't spent enough. In 19th position, another newly promoted team that I think will go back down is Leicester. For the same reasons that Burnley are going to go down really. Leicester have got a bit more money behind them. You know, when I went to Thailand recently, I saw Leicester stuff everywhere because their owner is from Thailand. But I still don't think their squad's strong enough. In 18th position, and also getting relegated with Burnley and Leicester, I'm actually going to predict a bit of a shock. A team that's never been outside of the Premiership, Aston Villa. I mean, their main signing this summer was Joe Cole, who they got off us, who wasn't getting in the West Ham team. So, I mean, I don't think they're strong enough. I really don't think they're strong enough. I know they've bought a few more people. They bought some young guys. They got Sissoko, who was on loan at Liverpool last year, but he didn't exactly have a great season for them. So I'm predicting that Villa are going to go down. And I also think that Lambert will get sacked and Roy Keane, who's currently the assistant manager, will take over as the full-time manager when Lambert goes. In 17th position, so just missing out on relegation, I reckon West Brom. I don't think they're particularly strong either. They've had a bit of a managerial merry-go-round of late, and I haven't got a lot of hope in their performances. In 16th position, Southampton. Now, a lot of people will be thinking Southampton will go down this year because they've basically sold everyone. They've had a mass exodus. They've lost Lambert, Lallana, and Lovren, the three L's, have all gone to Liverpool, the other L. They've also lost Chambers, who's gone to Arsenal, and they might still lose more people like Rodriguez, Schneiderlin, who knows. They're bringing in the likes of Fraser Forster, and they've got Pele as well, but I don't think they've got anywhere near as good a team as last year, but I think they've got enough to stay up. Plus, they've got a great youth academy. There might be some hidden gems in there that we'll see this season. So 16th place, Southampton. In 15th position, I'm going to go with the other promoted team, Harry Redknapp's QPR. They've got a decent centre-back partnership of Rio Ferdinand and Steven Caulker. That's an important base. And if they get a little bit more, if they keep Remy, if they manage to hold on to Remy, that is like a new signing in itself. So I think they could do all right this season. In 14th position, I'm going with Crystal Palace. Tony Pulis does not take teams down. So under his guidance, they might not play the best football, but I think they'll keep themselves up. They've got some exciting players. They've bought some more players. The Eagles are staying where they are. In 13th position is Swansea. Now, it's quite a difficult one to predict Swansea because they didn't have a great season last year. Gary Monk took over and no one's really sure what's going on there. They've lost Michu. I'm a big fan of Michu. He's gone on loan to Napoli. But they've kept Boney and they've added Sigurdsson, who I think is a very good player. He didn't get a lot of game time at Spurs, but I think he'll get them some goals. Good fantasy league player. So I think Swansea will do okay. In 12th position, I'm going with Hull City. They had a great year last year, and I'm sure they'd be very happy to finish 12th this year. Whether they're going to be called the Tigers or not, they got to the FA Cup final. Steve Bruce done a great job. They got Long, they got Jelavic up front. They just got Tom Ince as well. So Hull 12th, I reckon. In 11th position, I'm going with Sunderland, who had a miracle great escape last year. They got to the Capital One Cup final last season as well, so they've got something there. They've bought a few people. I think they'll do all right, much better than last year anyway. In 10th position, I'm going with my boys, West Ham. Now, I'm trying to go with my head and not my heart. We've bought some really good players this summer, in my opinion. We've bought Kayute, the Senegalese centre-mid / centre-back from Anderlecht. We've bought Cresswell, one of the best players in the Championship last year at left-back. We've got Zarate up front, who can do damage. We've got Enner Valencia, who's one of the stars of the World Cup for Ecuador. Obviously, Andy Carroll's got injured again. I'm not going to go on about West Ham too much, because I want it to be a neutral video. So I think 10th is a pretty fair placing for West Ham at the end of this season. In 9th position, I'm going with Stoke City. I think they'll surprise some people this year. I mean, they've bought Bojan. Who would have predicted that someone like Bojan, who was tipped to be one of the best players in the world potentially when he was a youngster at Barcelona, would end up at Stoke? But with players like him and Arnautovic, they're showing they don't plan to play the Stoke way anymore under Mark Hughes, and I think they can do all right this season. In 8th position, I'm going to go with Newcastle. Now, they lost Debussy, last year they lost Cabaye, but they've got a couple of nice little Dutchies in there now. They've got a few Dutch boys, and I think they underperformed last year a little bit, they can. I mean, 8th isn't incredible. It's only about 10 years ago they were in the Champions League, so I think 8th is fair for Newcastle, and I think they can do it. This is where it gets tasty. The top 7 teams, it's really hard to place them all. Who's going to get in the top 4, etc. In 7th position, I'm going with Everton, which is worse than they did last year. And Everton fans won't be happy, especially considering they've just spent so much money on Lukaku, who I think is a great signing, by the way. And they also bought Barry on a permanent deal, so 2 loanees from last year they've just bought in. They're not really new transfers, are they? Because they were there last year. So have they strengthened the team enough? The Bosnian midfielder they've signed, Besic, looked really good in the World Cup, so he could be a good addition. I mean, the reason I'm putting them in 7th is because I think Spurs are going to get 6th. Even though Spurs haven't signed many people either, that's actually a good thing for Tottenham because they signed so many people last year. They needed a season for them all to settle in, which they've now done. I think people like Lamela we could start to see a bit more from. Eriksen was really good towards the back end of last season. I think he's going to come into his own. They just lack another striker, I think. Adebayor's on his way out. Soldado hasn't really performed yet. Maybe we'll see more from him. So I'm going Everton 7th, Spurs 6th. Who's going to be in 5th? I think Liverpool. Now that is going to upset a few Liverpool fans watching. And by the way, guys, just because I predict it doesn't mean it's going to come true. You're more than welcome to have your own predictions. Leave them in the comments below. But I think Liverpool, without Suarez, are just not the same team. I think they've bought really good players. I think their signings have been really solid, but none of them are world beaters. They're all squad strengtheners, which is what they need to do because they're in the Champions League this year. However, they didn't have any European competition this year. They're going to struggle because it is going to spread them thin. And the additions the other teams have made, both player-wise and managerially, I think are going to leave Liverpool behind. So, hate it or love it, I'm putting Liverpool in 5th, outside the top 4. Who's in 4th place? Well, I'm going with Man United. Now, LVG, Van Gaal, everyone's talking about him. I think he's going to do a great job. I think expecting him to win the league is too much. I know I'm speaking before the transfer window has ended, and there's a lot of time left for big signings. So bear in mind, these predictions are being made before the end of the window. But as things stand, Man U have brought in Luke Shaw, yes, Herrera. No one that's really a game changer. They haven't even got rid of the deadwood they need to get rid of yet. So with his managerial input and his new formations and stuff, I think they'll do well. I think they'll massively improve than how they played under Moyes. And 4th place is an improvement because it's back in the Champions League, back where they belong. But I think any more than that is a step too far just yet, unless they sign some big names. So that leaves the top 3. In 3rd position, I'm going with Arsenal. Now, I know Arsenal fans are feeling they're real title contenders this year, and I do believe they are, but I think to finish 3rd will actually be a good achievement for them. They've got so used to finishing 4th now. They are going to improve. They are going to go one step further, but I think the squads of City and Chelsea are too strong. So, who's going to finish in 2nd and who's going to finish in 1st? Well, I think in 2nd place this year will be Manchester City. Now, the reason I'm not going with them to win is because despite adding Mangala, that was the main thing they needed to do. They needed to get a new centre-back to go and partner Vincent Kompany. And that gives them a really solid back 4 with good options. They've got 2 good left-backs, Kolarov and Clichy. They've got 2 good right-backs, Zabaleta and Sagna. And they've added another central defensive midfielder in Fernando. And they've got a lot of good striker options. They've got a really good squad. They've got a great squad. But I think the Chelsea squad is unbelievable. And the reason I think the Chelsea squad is so good, Mourinho needed a year to get back into things, to get rid of the people he didn't like the De Bruyne's, like the Juan Matas, the David Luiz's. He's managed to do that. He's managed to mould the squad in the way he likes. But his transfers have been very clever because he's brought in Diego Costa from Atletico Madrid. Now, he was rubbish in the World Cup, but if he can score as many as he did in La Liga last year, bear in mind he's a big physical player, the Premier League's perfect for him, he'll be an absolute sensation. They've brought in Felipe Luis, another player from Atletico Madrid, so those two know each other well. And Courtois, now he was already playing for Chelsea, obviously. He was on loan at Atletico Madrid, but he hasn't actually been in the Chelsea squad forever. He's never been a first-team player for them, so he's like a new signing. And he's been at Atletico Madrid, so that's 3 players that haven't really got to do as much, settling in because they know a few players in the squad already. They've also brought in Fabregas, another Spanish speaker, and we all know what Fabregas can do. He's scored plenty of goals in the warm-up games already. I think he's going to slot in as a ready-made replacement for Lampard. All their other young players are a year older, a year better. Hazard, Oscar, and they've finally now got a focal point of their attack, Diego Costa, with Mr. Didier Drogba on the bench, who's not a bad backup option. So my prediction is Chelsea to win the Premier League. They're my predictions. That is how I see the league finishing this year. I expect to get a few right, obviously not all of them. I could get none right. Who knows? That's how football works. It throws up a lot of surprises. Leave a comment below with who you think is going to win the league, who you think is going to go down, etc. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And if you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed this kind of football prediction video, then drop a like as well. I'll see you on the next one. Don't go changing.